Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. At the end of this video presentation, you are expected to solve for unknown quantities and problems involving ratio and proportion. So let's begin. Before we proceed with the review questions, let us recall first what do ratio and proportion mean. So if we say ratio, it is a comparison of two quantities. And it can be written in different forms like this. We have A is to B or A over B. In the ratio A is to B or A over B, A is called the antecedent and B is called the consequent. And we can say that a ratio A is to B is simplest if its antecedent and consequent have no common factor other than 1. And how about proportion? If we have two ratios that are equal, we call that a proportion. So proportion refers to the equality of two ratios. And it can be written in the forms of A is to B equals C is to D or A over B equals C over D. A is called the first term, B is the second term, C is the third term, and D is called the fourth term. The first and the fourth term, which is A and D, are called extremes. And the second term and the third term, which is B and C, are called the means. An example of a proportion is 3 is to 6 equals 2 is to 4. Another, we have 2 is to 5 equals 4 is to 10. So, if we observe the product of the extremes, let's say in the first example, the extremes are 3 and 4. And the means are 6 and 2. So, if we observe, the product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means. If they are equal, then we can say that they are in proportion. Let us recall also the types of proportion. The first one is direct proportion. Direct proportion describes the direct relationship between two quantities. In simple words, if one quantity increases, then the opposite quantity also increases, and vice versa. Also, if one quantity decreases, then the opposite quantity also decreases. Let us have an example of a problem involving direct proportion. A car consumes 6 liters of gasoline for every 40 kilometers traveled. How far can the car travel on 10 liters of gasoline? So the liter of gasoline is increased. So it is expected that the car will travel more distance than 40 kilometers. So this is an example of direct proportion. Next, inverse proportion. Inverse proportion describes the indirect relationship of two quantities. That is, if one quantity increases, then the opposite quantity decreases. Also, if one quantity decreases, then the opposite quantity increases. That is inverse proportion. For instance, if 15 workers can finish a task in 10 days, how many days will it take 20 workers to complete the same task? So increasing the number of workers will complete the task in less days. So this is an example of inverse proportion. The third one is partitive proportion. It describes a total amount being distributed into two or more equal or unequal parts. Example, Aling Juana has a budget of 500 pesos for the allowance of his two children. How much will Jane and John get if the money was divided with a ratio of 2:3? So this is an example of partitive proportion. Partitive proportion is also known as proportion by parts. So if we have problems that involves dividing a total quantity into two or more equal or unequal parts, then that is partitive proportion. Now, let us proceed with review question number 1. If a bamboo pole 39 feet long is to be divided in the ratio of 1:2, what is the length of each part? A. 13 and 23, B. 12 and 27, C. 13 and 26, D. 15 and 30, E. None of these. So this problem is a real-life situation that makes use of partitive proportion. So we are going to divide 39 in the ratio of 1:2. So we have the ratio 1:2. We are going to add 1 plus 2 and that is 3. So 3 will be our denominator for our fractions. So ang magiging hatian natin ay 1/3 and 2/3. Meaning to say, 1/3 of 39 is the length of one part, and 2/3 of 39 is the length of the other part. So, let us multiply 1/3 times 39. 1 times 39, that is 39, divided by 3, and that is 13. Next, 2/3 times 39. 2 times 39, that is 78. Divided by 3, that is 26. So the lengths of the parts are 13 and 26. And that is letter C. Next question. Find the denominator of an equivalent fraction 3/5 when the numerator is 150. A. 150, B. 180, C. 210, D. 250, and letter E. 255. So the first thing that we are going to do, we will equate 3/5 to 150 all over x. So yung x dito, that is the denominator of the fraction that is equivalent to 3/5. And then, we will do cross multiplication. So we will multiply 3 by x and 5 by 150. So we have 3 times x, that is 3x. 150 times 5, that is 750. So since ang hinahanap natin ay si x, we will divide both sides by 3. So 3x divided by 3, that is x. And 750 divided by 3, that is 250. So the answer is letter D. Number 3, what is the numerator of an equivalent fraction to 9/10 when the denominator is 120? A. 118, B. 108, C. 110, D. 120, E. 122. So the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to equate 9/10 equals x over 120. So, yung x dito, yun yung ating hinahanap. The numerator of the fraction that is equivalent to 9/10. So, we have the proportion 9/10 equals x over 120. Next, we will do cross multiplication. 9 times 120 equals 10 times x. Or, pwedeng magpalit. 10 times x equals 9 times 120. And that is 10x equals 1,080. Ngayon, ang hinahanap natin ay si x. So, divide both sides by 10. Divide both sides by 10. 10x divided by 10, that is x. And 1,080 divided by 10, that is 108. So the answer is letter B. Number 4, x over 2 plus x over 5 equals 7/10. What is the value of x? A. 5, B. 10, C. 7, D. 2, E. 1. For our solution, we have x over 2 plus x over 5 equals 7 over 10. So we are going to operate first the left side of the equation. So we have x over 2 plus x over 5. And since they have different denominators, hahanapin natin yung LCD ng 2 and 5. And that is 10. Kasi 10 is the least number that can be divided by 2 and 5. Next, 10 divided by 2, that is 5, times x, that is 5x. Kaya nakuha si 5x. Next, 10 divided by 5, that is 2, times x, that is 2x. Kaya nakuha si 2x. So, we have 5x plus 2x all over 10 equals 7 over 10. Next, 5x plus 2x, that is 7x over 10 equals 7 over 10. Cross multiplication, we have 7x times 10, that is 70x. 10 times 7, that is 70. And divide both sides by 70 para makuha natin si x. And x is equal to 1. And that is letter E. Number 5, a rope with length of 50 feet is to be divided among X, Y, and Z according to the ratio 2:3:5 respectively. How much will X receive? A. 10 feet, B. 20 feet, C. 30 feet, D. 40 feet, E. 50 feet. So this is another situation that makes use of partitive proportion. So we are going to divide 50 in the ratio of 2:3:5. So let us add 2 plus 3 plus 5 and that is 10. So meaning 10 yung ating magiging denominator sa hatian. So 2/10 or that is 1/5 of 50, yun yung matatanggap ni X. Also, 3/10 of 50, yun naman yung matatanggap ni Y. And 5/10 or that is 1/2 of 50, yun naman ang matatanggap ni Z. Pero ang concern lang natin ay si X. So, we will use 2/10 or 1/5 times 50, that is equal to 10. And that is letter A. Thank you again for watching, guys. For more videos, make sure you subscribe this channel.